into the studio with an orchestra, and they go in there and they come out with 4 songs and be done.
I think you're on there, Doc.
Okay.
Get ready.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Blackwell. Let me say Hotep of Baragani to my Africana Studies colleagues and contemporaries and followers after truth all. And let me say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but certainly never good night and never ever goodbye, because I personally have always found goodbyes traumatizing. I said I personally have always found goodbyes traumatizing. My name is the Reverend Nathaniel Wayne Martin. I am the pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church here in the city of Los Angeles, and we're being hosted by our sister church, the Shiloh Missionary Christian Church, of which Reverend Dr. Adela F. Holland is my good friend and is the pastor there. And when you're over on the southeast of, Maine is the east dividing line, come on over and worship with us. We'd be glad to see you coming in the door, and we'd be glad to see you, be happy to see you in the seat. And we certainly pray that God will bless you ere you go back out again. All right? All right. The offering that you are viewing is entitled It's Time, and it is a social justice offering. And what we labor to do is to stay away from the hoopalistics and kind of concentrate on the practical or pragmatic application of the scriptures to our lives. Because in these days and times in which we now live, where we look at any day for Armageddon, although I don't welcome Armageddon, but it looks the way that things are looking, all things have been fulfilled, men's hearts failing them for looking to the signs above with the airplanes and the drones and all of that, and the things coming up on the earth beneath, earthquakes in diverse places. God knows we have a lot of earthquakes here in the state of California, so much so that Palos Verdes is about to roll into the ocean because there's so much ground shifting. Normal ground shifting and erosion has led them to close down one of their churches that has been out there for probably over 50 years, maybe longer than 50 years. But the ground has shifted in front of the church, and so they're no longer able to worship there. I know I've gone out there to weddings. It's a beautiful view, all glass, look at the ocean, but now because of the soil erosion and the earthquakes, they had to condemn that beautiful church, and that just is another sign of what is occurring daily in our world and in our country, and not to mention the wars and rumors of wars. There's wars in Yemen, wars in Sudan, wars in the Democratic Republic of Congo, not to mention the hot wars, the war in Ukraine between the Ukrainians and the United States against the Russians, and then of course in Israel with the United States and Israel against the Palestinian people. And so and then there's the specter war coming up between the United States and China. And I think that would be rather foolish, but of course I'm not in the room telling them my opinion, because nobody wants to hear my opinion. But the United States is going to be at war with Russia, China, and those are two very big countries, and the like, and plus being held down in Israel. And I just think we're biting off way more than we can chew. And some zealot had to say, well, we could fight 3 wars. We got nuclear bombs. I said, well, what would be the world if we used them nuclear bombs? You know, so the fools are running the ship. And so you better pray for them. Let me invite your attention to a scripture that I use a lot of times, and it is the book of Ephesians, and especially the 11th, I believe, and the 12th verses. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And I always refer back to that, especially in these dangerous times in which politics have taken control, and we're mostly sitting in the back of the bus watching the driver drive us into a traffic accident, but we can't tell him nothing. Or else we see a train crash coming in slow motion, but nobody, every time we lift up our finger, nobody pays us any attention. And so that is where we are as a world, as a superpower, as a nation. I think we've abdicated our responsibility to be the beacon of righteousness and what are the other words that one can use? Justice in the world, because history has shown that we have engaged in subterfuge, cognitive dissonance, if not the history of hypocrisy, of which we are the chief. And so we as the United States of America in total cannot claim the high ground, if we could ever claim it, going back to the formation of this nation in 1619. Yes, 1619, when the first slaves were brought to Jamestown on the White Lion, a corsair ship that had intercepted another slave ship and deprived them of their valuable cargo, and they sold their 20 or so odd black Africans to the settlers there in Jamestown. And of course, the rest is history. And so going back from even there, we cannot claim any high ground. A nation that was founded on slavery, built on slavery, and was intent on holding on to slavery until the cataclysm of the 1861 Civil War, which lasted for may as well say 5 years, although it was a total of 4 years of actual fighting. But be that as it may, we cannot claim the high ground morally. That was the word I was looking for, not justice, but morally. We cannot claim the high ground morally because even in the case of Palestine, you have 143 countries that are voting for Palestine to be recognized as a state, and the two primary opponents of that is the United States of America, which voted no, which vetoed recognizing Palestine as a state, and of course the nation of Israel, which goes without saying. So we've long ago abdicated that moral high ground. Even looking back at the World War II, where we dropped the atomic bomb not on Hitler, who was putting the Jews in the ovens, but we dropped it on Japan, which was trying to negotiate a peace treaty with us, but we were so gung ho and as a country and dead set on destroying the Japanese for their sneak attack on Pearl Harbor, as FDR opined in that immortal speech there. And we dropped the atomic bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, both beautiful Japanese cities. And we forced the emperor, in the face of that Holocaust, to come to the peace table and surrender, and ushering in the atomic age, the weapons of mass destruction that we unleashed. And I feel that we have always played a hypocritical role in the rest of the world, because we preach democracy, but then we hold down or suppress or depress or destroy the people who would like to practice democracy in other countries. The Congo again comes to mind. Patrice Lumumba, who was assassinated by a CIA operative, and he was so proud of himself he even wrote a book and said that the only thing left of Patrice Lumumba when they got through with the acid and everything was a gold tooth. And the people of the Congo had to fight for many years to get that tooth returned to them. And so we have never been paragons of virtue as it relates to democracy or the practice of democracy. As a matter of fact, they asked Mahatma Gandhi one time, what do you think about Western civilization? And Mr. Gandhi opined it would be good if they did, if they tried. So I think the jury has come back in on with its verdict on who is a democratic country and who is trying to deny democracy. And of course, I won't even talk about Israel. That is not a democracy. A country that is all one people, and they don't want any other people, no other nationalities, to come in there or to be a part of that. Now they're actually blatantly and overtly saying that they really don't want a two-state solution. They only want one state, the Jewish state, as a solution. If you're not a Jew, then that means you can't go over there. And if you doubt me, you're gonna go over there. You're gonna find out, just like the great migration coming up from the south that came north looking for relief from discrimination, but they ran smack dab into it in another form. And as Dr. Martin Luther King said of Illinois, an even more virulent form of hatred and racism than was practiced even in the South, which is quite a statement. But it was no better for the Negroes going south going north from the South to Detroit and Chicago and coming out here even to California. And that is going to be your reception if you try to go buy land in Israel saying, I'm going to retire here and live here. No, they don't want you over there. That's the whole point. They only want Jews. Only Jews can practice democracy. They don't really practice democracy in Israel, at least place in Jerusalem. The writer of a book entitled Spy Fail gives a narrative of how the Jews developed and Dimona, and which is a nuclear plant, and no one knows how they got their enriched uranium. Well, they know what I'm saying, but we know it, one of the countries that they defrauded and deceived into helping them develop their nuclear arms was the United States of America. Surprise. And they used all kind of subterfuge to get that enriched uranium out of the United States and through various other countries, and finally winding up in Israel under various subterfuges, names, nomenclature, labeling uranium-235 as baby powder and all that kind of stuff. All of these type of ruses were used by Israel against the United States, against United States law and international law, in order to get that enriched uranium there, and they were carrying it out of here by the tons. It's amazing how deceitful the Israeli spies were, but they were successful. And of course, they used people here in the United States who maybe have been born in Israel, but they're living here in the United States, and they were very successful people. The guy that wrote and made the movie 12 Years a Slave, which was won the Academy Award, he was a very much an enabler of the Jewish state in getting all of that uranium transferred from the United States to Israel. And his last name is Melchan, M-E-L-C-H-A-N. And it's quite a read, and a surprising read, that Israel would be so deceptive to its chief benefactor. Remember, the United States is joined at the hip to Israel, even though, of course, the history of that part of the world, not to go back into a granular, detailed review, but of course it was the British who actually signed the Balfour Declaration that gave the land of Palestine to the Jewish immigrants from Europe. And even though the Arabs had been there for centuries, and that the British had promised that same land to the Arabs or Palestinians, but it was the Jews who came in there with superior firepower and committed the Nakba, which was the catastrophe way back there in 1945. And so then, when the Jewish state was beginning to be recognized in the UN, in the United Nations, in 1948, they had driven all of those people that were there, 750,000 by the last count, had driven those people from their home, from their houses, and from their country, and have not allowed them to return, which is where we are now as a result of the Jewish foot on the necks of the Arabs and the Palestinians. And international law gives you the right to overthrow your oppressor if you can. And so what finally happened, as the Israelis say, on October 7th, was nothing new. It had been building since 1948, and if not before that. So people are always trying to throw off oppression, and it was ugly, and it was inhumane, and it was savage, and it was not something that I would like to see. But if I was oppressing somebody, then naturally they're going to respond against me at some point. I should have to expect that or anticipate that. And that is one of the reasons why white supremacy is so successful in this country, but they are always fearful of black people, what we might do, because they know if we had done to them what they did to us, then we would have to sleep light, because revenge is coming, restitution is coming, karma is coming. And of course, that is what makes the white man sojourn here on the North American shores that we call the United States so uneasy, so fragile. Brings to mind what I think it was King Lear, uneasy rests the head that wears the crown. Oh yes, because when you get your crown by violence, you got to expect that violence is going to catch up with you at some point. Is that right? And so we see these things beginning to happen in our world, and lest we be overly puzzled or disturbed, we only need to open our Bibles and look at the written word, where it says we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Well, that means you're not just wrestling against Donald Trump or Joe Biden or Netanyahu or Putin. You're wrestling against forces, invisible forces that manifest their ideas through these people. And that is what we have to come to open up our eyes to see, that we have been in the midst of a war, and we are still going through the opening stages of that war. And the white evangelists, the white evangelicals, they're claiming that they're going to bring about Armageddon. Well, I don't want Armageddon. I want to die in peace, and I want to pass on a country that's at peace to the generations to come after me. I don't want them to inherit this polluted planet, this polluted water, this polluted air, all of this that we are being subjected to as a result of all humankind have contributed to the climate change and the climate shifts and the warming of the oceans and the waters. They tell me the ocean temperatures at the top are higher than they've ever been in the history of the world. And that is intolerable, because that makes your hurricanes more fierce. Instead of getting a hurricane force 1 or hurricane force 2, now we're up to 4 and 5. And you remember how that Hurricane Katrina came down through Louisiana, and the damage that it caused there in that state, especially in New Orleans. And so we better think twice about the damage and the waste that we throw off into the rivers and the lakes and the brooks and the streams, and that all makes their way to the ocean, because we're responsible for that destruction of the ozone, of the destruction of the wildlife, the destruction and the pollution of the aforementioned bodies of water. And that has a payday, a comeback. But like I said, you don't know who you're fighting against. But really, it is the power of the evil one, and he is manifesting himself through all of these nations, through all of these countries, through all of these tongues, and people are having to move from the Marshall Islands because of the water level is overtaking the island, and it's only going to get worse, because what's he going to do when the water becomes up in Australia? and the water began to rise here in the United States of America, here on the North American shores. All of these type of thoughts we need to be thinking now, while we still have a chance to cry out to God, please shield us from these impending, thank you sir, 5 minutes, impending disasters. And in my hometown, Houston, they got floods right there. It doesn't ever flood in Houston, but now they got floods in Houston from the torrential rain, because they every time you put in a parking lot, that means there's nowhere for the water to run off to. When the rain comes down on the natural earth, it naturally seeps on back down into the ground. But if you put a cement parking lot in between the rain and the earth, well, where's the rain going to go? Where's the running water going to go? Well, it's going to go down to the lowest level. And that's why you have flooding. And no matter how the Department of Streets, whatever we call it, cleans the drains before the rain comes, once the rain starts, the drains soon get covered or blocked, and the resulting water cannot get through the drain to get down to the lower level, to the lower sewer, so it backs up in the street, and you got flooding, which is what we're dealing with all across this the state of Texas, and especially in Houston. And so these floods are going to continue year to year, because we got all that asphalt out there and all that cement blocking the rainwater from soaking back into the ground as it would normally back when 100 years ago, when it would still have farmland and agricultural land. The water had somewhere to go. It could go back into the earth, back into the ground, and the floods were not so intense. But now you have more intense flooding. It comes all up into the houses and the homes and everything, because it has fewer places to dissipate. Of course, I'm rambling, but the point is, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and against powers. Sometimes I look upon Donald Trump as a principality, but really, and that's all he is. He's just a principal. Somebody is controlling. But look at what havoc he has wrought on the face of the nation, and he's tried to cause an insurrection. And surprisingly, he must have got all of his training from Netanyahu, because Netanyahu has done that same thing with the Likud when he was prime minister way back in 1999. He led a revolt, and he led an insurrection against his own people there in Israel. And what Donald Trump's people did on January 6, 2021, Netanyahu's people had done in their state in February 8th of 2021. So I think both Biden and Trump have been trained by Netanyahu, and Netanyahu has always had the most extreme Zionists in his party, and they're the ones that do not want a two-state solution. They only want one state, the state of Jerusalem, and the state of Israel, for Jews only, which means they must drive the other people out, and they are attempting to do just that. They're attempting to exterminate the Palestinians and the Arabs. And Netanyahu is on record saying he does not want any Arabs in his cabinet. And so with that as a precursor, what can we expect going forward but continued upheaval and extermination. They're starving the poor babies and the poor children and the poor women and the poor men. Famine in the land over there in Israel, not among the Israelis, no, but among the people that are undesired, the dispossessed, the disinherited. In this case, it is the Palestinians, but who will it be 10 years from now? Anyway, we thank God that we got through this time, and although we were rambling and we still came to no conclusion, I invite upon you to continue in your prayers and let God lead you. And remember, just like the auto workers got a union, and just like the Amazon workers got a union, if you're working on a job and they don't want to pay you, don't waste your life, don't waste your career, don't waste your energy. If they don't want to pay you what you're worth, don't work for them. Thank you, Doc. We out of here.